Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Geek Done Right, the show where I talk about whatever it is I feel like. I'm Chris. Thanks for coming to geek out with me. And also, thanks for coming, Brad. This is my friend Brad Young. He's one of my really good friends, and we actually got to work on a pretty cool project recently. As I have built Tiger Storm, video coming out soon, I promise. We actually got to build you a PC. I mean, you were kind of influenced to build a pretty PC after seeing Tiger Storm, right?
You know, I've always been a utilitarian type of guy. You know, if it works, I want it fast. Yeah. But yeah, after I see the beautiful Tiger Storm, and it is pretty, guys, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
You know, I figured let's give this whole thing a try. So it's some ups and downs, though. Ups and downs. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
I mean, first off, I mean, the specs. I mean, this thing is a monster.
Only build the best, man.
I mean, the only thing that kind of sucks is whenever you're going for a PC build, every time you're getting the latest thing, something new comes along. I mean, like, you got the Kaby Lake processor, which is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, this thing is a beast. 4.2 gigahertz quad-core processor. 7700K, so it's overclockable.
Oh, yeah.
And Kaby Lake is really great, especially with its energy use. Its TDP is really low. But now they have the 8700K Coffee Lake.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is I looked at a lot of that stuff, and when you're looking at benchmarks, at least when I looked at it, it's really not a big difference. See,
right.
You're looking at, you're looking at spending, because it's an expensive computer.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to be crazy, right? I mean, I got a family. I didn't want my wife to kill me, right?
Right.
So you gotta build within a little bit of a budget, and for like $330 or something, I mean, the i7 7700 it's just killer. It's a killer processor.
Yeah, you made a good choice with the CPU cooler. I mean, all-in-ones are really nice, especially for how quiet they tend to be. Overall. And
this is actually my first. Cooler that I've ever actually used. I've used lots of different CPU fans. I've used Noctua. They're big monsters. You know.
This is your first foray into liquid cooling.
Yeah, liquid cooling, and it's really interesting. It's a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's quieter than that big monster Noctua that I had in my last one. I really like it.
You also went with a really awesome board, and one that, I mean, let's just say that this PC is also an RGB killer.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe a little overboard.
The board has like multiple RGB headers, but also it has a lot of great features for overclocking as well.
Oh yeah.
And then you went with 32 gigs of the Trident Z RGB. You see pretty much every YouTuber that does a build, an RGB build, using the Trident Z RGB.
They're really good. I mean, they're fast. It's DDR4 RAM. It's fast, 3600, right?
Yeah.
And it's relatively inexpensive. It really isn't that much. I think my total was like $400, over $400.
Yeah, that's really not bad for 32 gigs of RAM, especially with the RGB features.
Yeah.
And those heat spreaders are actually quite solid.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues getting them in the DIMM slots. I didn't have any issues.
You went with SanDisk for your system drive.
Yeah.
And I mean, the price is right on that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot better ones, right? I mean, you can get a lot better of a drive. And I know that, but in the end, it's just a boot drive.
Exactly.
It's just a boot drive. It's a small, almost 500 gig boot drive. All it has to do is load Windows. In the end, it's what it is, and it works really well.
And then you just had to outdo me with your storage drive.
What's up?
2 terabytes more than Tiger Storm.
But it's cheap, man. I mean,
it is.
When we were kids, I mean, my first computer, my first computer was like a 133 megahertz computer, and it had, I kid you not, 3.14 gigabytes. Hard drive space,
Oh, you had gigabytes.
I had gigabytes. I
had 128 megs.
Well, that's because I'm younger than you and cooler than you.
That's
what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about 6 terabytes for $175.
Yeah.
And it's no slouch. It's 7,200 RPM. It's Toshiba X300.
Yeah.
It's not a bad hard drive.
And it's a great thing to put your games on. Yeah. It's going to load your games just fine.
Yeah. I actually split it up. I've got it split up, and I've got a media section. I partitioned 2 terabytes into a partition for my media, movies and things that I have, and the other stuff is just general storage, for where I store all the other games and things of that nature that I play, and it works really well. A lot of storage for a really cheap dollar.
You went with a beast of a video card.
Yeah, you've got to. You can't have an i7 and not skimp out on a freaking Asus GeForce GTX 1080 Ti.
Right.
Strix.
Yeah.
Right?
Which means that it has this has the overclocked RAM on it, and once again, 11 gigs of that video RAM. This means your 4K is going to be buttery smooth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 4K 60 frames per second, no problem with this thing.
It's a beast, man.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's massive. It takes up the entire bay almost. It's massive.
Awesome. That's also something to be aware of when you're getting these cards like the Asus Strix 1080 Ti. It's going to take up some space within your case.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You like that right there?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. You have to be really careful. I mean, and that's where these programs that like PC Part Picker and they come into play, right?
Yeah.
Like when I started building computers, they didn't have stuff like this.
Oh no!
So you have to be really careful, get the socket right and get the DIMM right and all these things right. But I mean, stuff like this, it fixes it. So much so that you look at the case, which is coming. That is a beautiful case, by the way, and it'll tell you how much room you have.
Yeah.
But you do have to be really careful because some of these cards are absolutely massive. Like this one, it's huge.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really appreciate about PC Part Picker as well is that it also helps you pick your power supplies because it's going to tell you your TDP.
Which I go a little overboard. There's stories behind that.
Well, I mean, when you're doing a lot of RGB, it's going to require a lot of power, which you really went for the RGB, like with the Crystal 570X case.
Which, by the way, is freaking gorgeous.
Tempered
glass sides.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
All over.
It's gorgeous.
Which presents its own problems, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Oh, especially if kids and fingerprints, and it's bad.
But then you decided to swap out the fans for the because it comes with the SD 120s,
right? Yep.
But you decided to go with the HD 120s, and to replace all the fans. Which
and here's one of the things. The first thing that came into problems with is they don't really talk about the difference between the SD and the HD, right? SP, I think, is what it actually is. They don't talk a lot about the differences, and really, I had to look at a lot of things to figure out the differences.
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is simply this: is the SP, I think, is what it is. 120s, they're not as bright, and they're not controllable the same way. Right. The HD 120s, or any of the HD products, they come in different sizes, right? But they're controllable. All the different LEDs are controllable, and they're a lot brighter. So in a case where it was all about RGB, right? I wanted light everywhere. I wanted everything to be glowing and shining. Corsair's HD 120s were really the way to go.
Building in the Crystal 570X case.
My gosh.
Well, I mean, it started off okay.
It started off fine.
I mean, we of course, you get your processor, put in the motherboard, you stick in the RAM, and you even put your cooler on and everything.
Sure.
You slide in the motherboard, that was a little bit of a tight fit. Everything just went in fine. Yeah. The trouble was the cable management.
Oh my gosh.
This thing, seriously, if you're doing RGB, especially the detailed, dynamic RGB that we were doing with this build, it is a pain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think, Chris, right? There's wires everywhere. Each of those HD, normally you've got the HD, your fans, your case fans, and they're just one little connector.
Yeah.
Right? But you're doubling your connectors because you've got one that has to go back to the control panel, like the little control box.
Yeah.
Which is messy. And then you got them that have to go to the case fan, and it just gets really messy. There's so many wires. I've built a bunch of computers.
Yeah.
And there's wires in this one everywhere because
absolutely
not only do you have case fans, but then you need the other PSU, the power supply connectors to get those fans going.
Right.
And normally, like in Tiger Storm, in most cases, the back is your heaven, right?
Yes.
The back is where you hide all the ugly stuff because no one's gonna see it.
But with all tempered glass sides, everyone's gonna see it.
Which kind of brings me to, if you don't mind, kind of to my first kind of qualms with the Corsair. First off, it's only a mid tower.
Yeah.
And it's just too small. you know, with the wiring, it needs to be bigger. You need to have more space to actually get the wiring set up right. It's just too small, in my opinion. I mean, maybe some people...
Or you're a planning genius and you just know how to put everything in its place beforehand.
And that's just not me, you know?
I mean, honestly, if you want a mid-tower case, just have a professional build it for you.
I guess. I mean, I'm used to like big full TX, full steel, you know.
Like Tiger Storm.
Like Tiger Storm. They're huge, you know, and there's a lot of room to work with it, and there's room to put, you know, your cables and to really lay your cables up nicely.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was really excited about with the Corsair, though, is it had a little kind of a shroud in the back, right? Remember?
Yeah.
But you have so much wiring that I couldn't get the shroud on. It was like I was trying to squeeze into my tight pair of jeans, right?
I know, right?
The muffin top squeezing out everywhere.
And you only get the button in like halfway.
Exactly. You're having to get someone to zip it up, and that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Is you're trying to, I mean, it took the both of us grabbing it, and then we realized that we forgot something, and we had to take the shroud off. And it never went back on. It's not on right now.
Seriously, like this thing was buckling. It looked like it was screaming in pain. It was
bad. Well, I mean, because that kind of brings us to the next thing, right? I mean, there's tons of different components on the back panel to make all these fans work, and so you know you had a little lighting controller that came with the case, and so your fans had to plug into that, and then it had to go to the one over here. So you've got wires that look like a spider web going everywhere.
Yeah,
which is awesome. I mean, the outcome is great.
Yeah.
But like you said, the cable management is atrocious, and it would have been a lot easier with a larger shroud. And they could have done that if it was on a full ATX size case.
Exactly.
But they don't make it in that. And I would have bought a full ATX case from Corsair in a heartbeat because it's a beautiful case.
Oh, absolutely.
The tempered glass is amazing. It feels, and it's heavy. Like, it's not junk. It's real heavy, solid, and it's really quite nice and impressive.
And then also the rubber grommets that you place the glass on really helps with any vibration that the fans may cause. And I mean, just look at this thing. This thing is beautiful. I mean, when we turned it on in the first place, it was just glorious to behold. I mean, but nothing was in sync to begin with.
Are we going to talk about that now? I mean,
yes. Let's talk about that now. I mean, that's one of the big things. I mean, if you look here, you have Corsair. I mean, like, but Asus has Aura, while Corsair has essentially two different programs for multiple different things. And you also got the what was it, K90?
Yeah, the K95 mechanical keyboard. Okay,
yeah.
That is a different one, dude. We need to do a video on that. It is an amazing mechanical keyboard. Amazing.
Yeah, with the Cherry MX speed switches.
So good.
And then didn't you get the mouse as well?
No, that's coming.
Oh, okay.
GoFundMe, right? But no, but we forgot to mention that I put Cable Mod. LEDs in there. They're AuraSync ready. Yeah,
they're AuraSync ready. They're triple wide beam.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're really
beautiful,
good.
Beautiful.
But I mean, that kind of leads us into the problem that we're talking about, right? I mean, Corsair's got two different ones. So my K95 is on Corsair Q, and then I had AuraSync. But okay, so I don't mean to rag on AuraSync. AuraSync is the beginnings of something good. It really is the beginning of something good. But it's just not there yet. Yeah. I mean, so for me, a lot of the reason I like RGB is when you turn the computer on for the first time, that vision of the lights coming up and the fans starting to spin, you know, that is what you want. You want to see your computer. You want to see it glowing, and you want to turn on and see the magnificence of it. But the problem is, it loses your settings every time. Yeah. So the moment you turn on, you've got this ugly, to me at least ugly, you know, unicorn rainbow junk coming out of your computer, and I don't want that. I have it set to where I want it. You know, I've got some flash and dash. I've got a little, you know, and so AuraSync just forgets that every time. So you've got to go back into the software. You've got to retell it your custom color, which means you have to remember the, you know, the RGB or the you know, hex code for it every single time.
Yeah.
And what's the point of having to turn it on and redo it every single time? Anytime you walk your computer, you've got, you know, a couple minutes later after it's gone to sleep, you got to come back to it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way, right? There's got to be a better way. And so since Link didn't sync up with you know, I used Link for a couple other things. I think my cooler used Link as well.
Yeah.
And so I had these 3 programs going. And so I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I said, okay, well, Corsair's got some LED strips. So I went and I used the Corsair LED strips. And, you know, they work better because it's Link. But the Link software is awful.
Yeah.
It's worse than AuraSync. Now, I will say it does remember your settings. So when you turn it on, it actually does to a point until it forgets it when it wants to. But it's just buggy. Like, for instance, the other day, I think I mentioned to you before, I turned the computer on and none of my LEDs were working.
Ooh.
And so I went into the Link software going, okay, it was something, but the Link software didn't even know my LED strips were there. Right? Oh, and I didn't mention, I changed the strips out. I took the cable mods out and put in the Corsair strips to see if that would help. And the Corsair strips just aren't nearly as good as the cable mods. They're gorgeous. The cable mods are amazing.
Yeah.
The Corsair strips, they could use a little bit of work. They're not strong enough. They're not powerful enough. They're not magnetic enough. They are magnetic, but not enough.
Yeah.
But it's just such breaking stuff. I mean, it's just new, and we all know that when you're using new things in the computer world, they just don't sync well, right? So AuraSync doesn't play with Link. Link doesn't play with AuraSync. I mean, heck, Corsair's products Q and Link don't even work together. And what they really need to do is they need to stop worrying about things. They just need to get together and figure out one piece of software, third-party software that will run everything.
And that's one of the problems that we have with RGB right now. I mean, with most other things, like with USB or other things like that, there is a standard for that. RGB is so new, especially dynamic RGB is such a new thing. There's no standardization. Right. And so it's kind of a hot mess at this point in time.
Yeah, it's the Wild West when it comes to that kind of stuff. Everyone's trying to be the it in RGB and trying to capture the market instead of going, you know, let's make something work.
Yeah.
You know, and what I noticed is some of them, you know, some of the strips, they're 12 volt. Some of them are I think 24 volt. Some of them are 8 volt.
Yeah.
And so they just don't work. They need to figure out a way to get them in sync, and where they don't freaking turn off when your computer goes to sleep. When you can turn it on and have all the same settings. You don't have to go in there every time. I swear, when I open my computer up, it's like this little regimen that I have to come in and turn this computer on and turn that on and make sure that's working. Instead of what it should be, where I just turn the computer on and this amazing, awesome light show comes on. And so fireworks coming on.
Yeah.
It's just not yet.
Exactly. I mean, RGB looks awesome. Like dynamic RGB is great, but so does static RGB as well. So like if you're not wanting a headache, or if you're not like an expert in the latest RGB stuff, which if you are and you have any suggestions for me and Brand, let us know in the comment section down below. For right now, the easiest thing to do is just deal with static RGB, deal with like what comes with your computer, and then utilize just the one software. With Tiger Storm, it was really easy, and actually the controller is based in my case.
And it's not that I hate it, right? Like, it's a beautiful computer, and it is fast. I mean, it is fast. It'll run anything I want it to run, right? And it's not that I dislike it. I love the RGB nature, and I love turning it on. And even when it's the unicorn rainbow junk going on, it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
And on a side note, if you have kids like I do, they freaking love the computer.
Fingerprint magnet.
They walk and they say, "Daddy, it's so colorful." You know, and they love it, and it really is, and it's beautiful. And once you have it up and running, it really is beautiful.
Yeah.
But as the technology gets better, as things start to play nicer, as things kind of start to mellow out, like they always do with technology,
and
RGB will be a much easier thing to do. And you know, and I can't wait for that. But for now, this thing's awesome, and it was a really fun build. It was really fun.
It took us a while though, just trying to film it and build it. If we were just building it, it wouldn't have taken us nearly as long. But I appreciate you letting me come and film it. I mean, it really was fun. And
it's like 5 or 6 hours to build this thing.
It did, and it was mostly because of the cable management. Honestly, like we spared y'all the footage of the cable management.
It was bad.
It was a beast.
I'm not
so
great
hard.
at cable management in the first place, right? That's why I use big steel back ATX cases, So it's kind of like going out of, going from a nothing to an everything, because you've got to do it well in this case.
Yes.
And it deserves it. It's an absolutely gorgeous case. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that Corsair case is gorgeous. If you haven't looked at it, take a look. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, this was a pretty fun build. I mean, we learned a lot during the process. I think the biggest thing is that RGB is still a new thing. I mean, dynamic RGB's only been out for maybe a little over a year, something like that. But it's going to get better. Things are going to be really cool. And then also there's a lot of almost open source type of stuff where people are going to be able to come up with some really cool stuff that's gonna I'm hoping one day to be able to just tie everything together, and there's some standardizations in place. But once again, the crystal case is beautiful. Just being ready to be up on your cable management game. Maybe you could do it better than we did.
Yes, show us pictures if you did, please.
Yes, post your pictures or tweet them at me at DoneRight. We would love to see those. And actually, on that, let's talk about your experiences with RGB. If you have any solutions for the problems that we talked about, if you have any of that, post that in the comment section down below. That's going to wrap things up for this episode of Geek Done Right. Once again, what solutions do you have for RGB? Put that in the comment section down below. Make sure to smash that like button. It helps me a lot. Subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified of whenever I drop new videos, which is the second and fourth Saturday of every month. Until next time, y'all take it easy. Peace.